If you've viewed my channel at all, you might think that I'm a Republican, but I'm not. I'm a registered independent with strong libertarian leanings. You know, it's interesting with the Libertarian Party. I mean, they believe in freedom to the utmost, okay? So I've created my own category. I'm an independent libertarian because that is the ultimate in being in favor of freedom. But anyways, I've always been that way. I've never caved to peer pressure. I've always done my own thing. I've always done the opposite of everybody else, you know, and lived to tell the story about it. I, what's interesting, because this is a sidetrack that I hadn't intended to talk about, but so many people today, there's little sheep out there, follow the crowd because they don't want to be ostracized. They want to have friends. They want to be liked. And they want to be with everybody else. Well, I always did my own thing. And I never had a lack of friends. I always had friends. In fact, interesting story about this. More than once, a few times, my female friends told me that their boyfriends told them that they respected me, that they thought I was cool because I was different than everybody else. So that goes to show you, you're not going to lose your friends if you are your own person. In fact, you may actually draw in more people. And the people that you do draw in will probably be more quality people, because they will appreciate that you're not like the rest of them. So that's just a side note, because it does go hand in hand with what's happening in the world today, sheep. But what I really want to talk about was this country and where it's going and what's happened. When I was in school, in history, I learned about the Founding Fathers. I don't know that the children are being taught that today. It doesn't seem that way, because I grew up respecting the Founding Fathers for what they stood for what they did for their country. I mean, they had a hissy fit over taxing tea. But they stood up for what they believed in. It was what it symbolized. It was they did not want the government telling them what to do. And when the first immigrants came over here, they either established a farm, or they started their own little business, or if you didn't have a farm or your own business, then you worked for a farmer or a business owner so that you could make a living. People that came over here were fiercely independent and self-sufficient. They did not need the government to interfere in their daily lives. They did not need the government to help them in any ways, because they helped themselves. And I think a lot of that was just the ethic of the time, but also the religious aspect, because I was taught that God helps those who helps themselves. And these people were religious people. They believed strongly in God, and they believed in helping each other and being independent. When they established the Constitution and the framework for this country's government, the Founding Fathers didn't intend it to be what it is today. They just wanted some type of framework, because they understood that every country needs some kind of organization, some kind of structure. But in no way, shape, and form was it meant to be oppressive in any way. But, as countries grow and, you need roads and you need infrastructure, that's where the government comes in. You need, an organization that kind of pulls all those things together. The government is there to protect you. They're supposed to be the gatekeepers. They're supposed to stand on those shores and say, you're not coming in here if you're going to hurt my people. That is not what we have today. And what is so sad is this government was created under the premise that we, the people, have the power. And yet we, the people, are the ones that gave up our own power to the government. We don't need anyone to tell us what to do. We don't need anyone to scare us into submission. We need to think for ourselves do for ourselves and be kind to one another, support each other. You know, if everybody just were decent human beings, we could all just help each other out. We don't need the government to help us each other out. We can help each other out. You know, in times of poverty, and, you know, there were stories back in the Depression, the Great Depression. I remember reading about that. Those that had helped those who didn't. You know, people would come knocking on people's doors saying, I don't have any money. Is there anything I can do around your house to earn some money or food? And lots of times those people that they came to maybe didn't have extra money themselves, but they had food because they were growing their own food. And so when people came knocking on their door for help, they said, yes, can you dig out that whatever, and I'll give you lunch, or I'll give you dinner. And that's how people helped each other out. And you don't have that today. You have people fighting each other for what? You have people that are so self-absorbed, they don't even know that anybody around them needs help because it's all about them. And it's a sad case of where humanity has devolved to. But for this country in itself, we should all be independent libertarians. We should all fiercely protect our own liberty and freedom. And that doesn't mean violence. That doesn't mean that type of thing. What I'm saying is, if you just stand your ground and just say, I don't think so, the government would never have gotten as much power as it has now. And it's not their fault. It's our fault for letting them do that. Don't you think it's time that we went back to the Constitution, that we went back to freedom and liberty for all, that everyone's rights are protected under the law, that no one is above the law? There's way too much of that. There's people going free for violent crimes that shouldn't be. And then people being locked up for walking in a building, a public building. 20-year sentences for some of these people. I mean, that is insane. That is not justice under the law. If everyone would just go back to the Constitution and just go back to being decent human beings, we wouldn't have the problems that we have today.